The first thing after I reincarnated as a spicy strip is to eat a few of the bath companions beside me. Just because I was soaked into medicinal wine right after rebirth, I thought my miserable snake life would end here, but unexpectedly awakened the Devour Evolution System. As long as I keep eating, I can grow infinitely. Not only can evolve into the time-controlling divine beast, the chasing dragon, but also can evolve into the spirit god of desire and soaking. But now, I can't escape from this big alarm in front of me. Just as I was figuring out how to leave here, a greasy bald man came over. Seeing this, I immediately lay down and played dead. He stared at the wine jar in front of him looking puzzled. Strange, why is there only one snake? Tomorrow is the delivery day. I have to quickly add 4 more bath companions. The moment the man opened the lid, I bit him right on the face. Aged 82 farm spittle. The man instantly rolled on the ground in pain, while I quickly slithered toward the door. Then, I spent 1 energy point to open the system radar. Outside is a residential area. 1 kilometer away are continuous mountain ranges. If I can escape there, I'll be completely free. But in between are several main roads. It's rush hour now, heavy traffic. If I go straight now, I'll be crushed into snake jerky in minutes. So I immediately hid in the abandoned wooden hut nearby, planning to wait until night. Meanwhile, the black guy was secretly moving. The man's pig-killing scream soon caught the attention of the neighbors. After learning that a venomous snake had escaped, they immediately notified the firefighter uncles. In less than 20 minutes, a few firefighters brought 2 search dogs to the scene. Relying on their extremely sensitive sense of smell, one of the search dogs quickly arrived outside the house. Hearing the barking getting closer, I quickly twisted my body and drilled into a nearby hole in the ground. Not long after going in, I saw a preserved meat about my own size, but at the moment it was curled up, seemingly still hibernating and not awake. Seeing this, I brightened up, haha, a scapegoat has arrived. Brother, rest in peace. I'll remember you forever. Then I immediately slowly pushed it to the entrance of the hole. Soon, I heard the joyful shouts of the firefighters outside. Caught it! Caught it! Sure enough, in the small grove. Too bad it was already bitten to death by Lucky. After a while, the surroundings gradually quieted down, but I didn't let my guard down, still hiding deep in the cave, until night completely fell. Only then did I carefully crawl out of the hole. Looking at the distant mountains, my stomach instantly growled with hunger. I don't know how long my previous body was soaked in that wine jar. If I hadn't devoured those bath companions, I would probably have been completely turned into 5 poison wine. Just then, a noise not far away caught my attention. I saw a palm-sized mouse digging for something in the grass. Seeing this, I drooled. Such a cute little mouse. How could I let it go? So I directly lifted my head and spat out a stream of venom. The mouse, hit by the venom, immediately collapsed on the ground. Although I felt a bit reluctant to swallow this dirty big rat, but my hungry belly told me now is not the time to be picky. However, just as I was recalling the scene of eating steak in my past life, a familiar system panel suddenly appeared in front of me. Detected host has strong desire for organ modification. Starting body organ modification plan. Looking at the modification options in the system shop, I was suddenly enlightened. That means, as long as I can obtain enough purification, I can purify into the legendary true dragon. So what am I waiting for? The hunt begins. After a night of devouring, my saturation reached 100%, all energy obtained, directly converted into 40 evolution points. And I also welcomed my first competition. As a surge of powerful energy entered my body, I immediately felt a tearing pain. The muscles and bones inside were constantly reorganizing. After about 4 or 5 minutes, my body finally returned to normal. But my size was significantly larger than before, and thicker. Then I came to the roadside planning to cross. But when I was halfway, a blonde-haired guy with a girl sped over at 300 miles per hour. The girl screamed wildly, releasing her inner desires. At the same time, she was live streaming the high-speed ride on her phone. Seeing the racer about to hit me, I gathered all my strengths and leaped to the other side of the road. And this scene was just seen by the netizens in the live stream room. Damn, what was that just now? Was it a snake? Bro, have you ever seen a snake as thick as a bucket? That's an anaconda, right? Can your anaconda reach such speed? That was at least 280 miles per hour, if not 300. Probably a mutant, right? For a moment, the live stream chat was full of comments. Meanwhile, I was still panicking in the grass by the roadside. I looked at the departing car and cursed, "Whose damn ghost is that?" Driving so fast in the middle of the night, in a rush to reincarnate. If I had been a bit slower, my innards might have been squeezed out. Recalling that scene just now, I was almost exhausted. No, I need to hurry up and leave. The human world is too dangerous. So I immediately turned and slithered deep into the mountains. At the same time, at a biological research institute, Professor Wang, who was working overtime, received a phone call. "Professor Wang, I have a latest situation to report to you. Today our hospital admitted a very special case. It is said that it was venom from a snake that had been soaked in wine for many years. Earned But this kind of venom is something we've never seen before. Not only does it have corrosive and neuroparalytic effects, but its toxicity is 5 times that of a normal king cobra. Upon hearing this, Professor Wang fell silent. Recently, he had received various reports of mutated animals attacking humans. As the inheritor of a traditional Chinese medicine family, he had also seen similar records in some ancient texts. Previously, he had doubts. But after coming into contact with some biological gene samples never seen before, he basically believed in this thing. Thinking of this, Professor Wang's brows were tightly furrowed. Could it be the spiritual energy revival recorded in ancient books is about to begin? At this time, on the other side, after half a day of crawling, my stomach was already growling with hunger. So I quickly opened the system map radar and soon found a hidden cave entrance. And at the moment, there were nearly 100 snakes huddled together for warmth in the cave, unaware that danger had already approached. Seeing this, my eyes lit up. This is really a great place with beautiful scenery. Not only is there such a hiding spot, but there are also so many hibernating spicy strips for me to eat. Not bad, not bad. So I directly attacked the largest python in the corner, attacking, biting it right on its vital spot. The python, feeling the pain, trembled all over, but it didn't wake up. As I swallowed the whole python, the familiar system sound rang again. Ding! Devoured a spotted python, gained 50 energy points. After looking at my slightly swollen belly, I immediately turned and slithered toward the snake group nearby. Ding! Devoured a gold-ringed snake, gained 10 energy points. Ding! Devoured a silver-ringed snake, gained 15 energy points. Ding! Devoured a 5-step snake, gained 12 energy points. After swallowing dozens of spicy strips, my saturation finally reached 100%, gained a full 90 purification points. That's enough for me to evolve twice. So I found a safe corner and leveled up twice in a row. But at this moment, I realized I only had 5 years of life left. However, as long as I break through to the Beast Soldier rank within 5 years, I can add another 10 years of life. Yet, just as I was lying on a rock enjoying a sunbath, a sharp eagle cry suddenly came from above. Obviously, I had become the target of an eagle's hunt, but I already had a plan. Although I can't fly yet, I have the system radar. So, I stared intently at every move of the eagle on the radar. I didn't react at all in the first half. The eagle immediately swooped down at me. Just when it was still 5 meters away, I suddenly opened my mouth wide and spat out a mouthful of aged 82 sputum, precisely covering its eyes. Then with a swift move, I bit the eagle's neck. This eagle died without understanding how it was actually counter-killed. However, just as I swallowed the eagle and was about to return to the cave, a strange sense of danger suddenly came from behind. So I opened the radar again and found several red dots moving toward my location. At the same time, a kilometer away, several men were searching around with 2 hunting dogs. They soon arrived at a riverbank. I, hiding in the bushes, also spotted them. They turned out to be 5 snake catchers, and each one was fully equipped. From their conversation, I learned they had taken a 500,000 yuan mission from a certain biological research institute to catch a special snake. Clearly, they were after me. With my current strength, there's no need to be afraid of these snake catchers. The only thing to watch out for is their shotguns. And those 2 hunting dogs, only by picking them off one by one can I win. After all, in my previous life, I was also a snake catcher, so I know their tricks well. After seeing one of them fall behind, I immediately rushed out and bit his arm, instantly releasing a large amount of venom. Then I quickly turned and hid in the grass. The next second, the people ahead fired 2 shots at the spot where I disappeared. Fortunately, the shotgun's range is limited. Being hit from a distance only hurt a bit. My defense wasn't even scratched. Seeing this, I was also surprised. My defense actually blocked shotgun bullets. So, while dodging the pursuit of the 2 hunting dogs, I slithered deeper into the forest. What are snake catchers? What if they have numbers? I still took one down. They're just a bunch of weaklings. Seeing the 2 hunting dogs chasing after me in the distance, Scarface Old Lou made a snap decision. He, along with Old Lee carrying the shotgun, parted the bushes and chased after me. Ken Lousy also quickly followed the dog barks. I sprinted hundreds of meters straight in the dense bushes. The dog's speed was greatly affected. They couldn't match my slender form. My stamina is now 30 points, enough to sustain high-intensity exercise for over 20 minutes. In fact, teasing them is the best choice. At this moment, the 2 hunting dogs were still following the scent, barking wildly in pursuit. Seeing this, I couldn't help but mock the 2 stupid dogs. If I hadn't just devoured that eagle and wanted to take you for a walk, I, Snake Lord, would have made you meet the King of Hell with 1 venom spray. So I leisurely toyed with them, circling through the forest several times. Several times I deliberately showed weaknesses and escaped by a narrow margin, enraging the 2 hunting dogs to grind their teeth. Old Lou and the others following along were cursing non-stop. Old Lou, this guy is not right. Look, this beast seems to be toying with us. Old Lee aimed with his shotgun several times, but I dodged. He also realized they had encountered a tough nut. It's not right. This creature has high intelligence and extremely fast speed. Both hunting dogs are exhausted from being toyed with. But the beast still seems energetic, not showing any sign of fatigue. Could it really have become a spirit? It must be a spirit, definitely a spirit. If I had known it would be this troublesome, I wouldn't have taken this job. Old Lin kept vigilant with a worried face. We've already taken it. And old Wang got bitten by that beast. Don't know how he's doing. Let's catch it first. No matter how evil, we have to kill it. Chen Laosi usually didn't get along with old Wang, but actually they were best friends. Now he wanted to kill me the most. We have already provoked it to attack. Now it's a fight to the death. Regret is useless. We have to find a way to capture it. That's the only practical way. Old Lu gripped his steel fork tightly and advanced cautiously. Just then, a whimper from a hunting dog came from the bushes ahead. The other dog was barking non-stop, too scared to go forward. Not good, Old Lu said. Something happened to Dawang. He quickened his pace and rushed over. Chen Laosi immediately followed. Old Li also dared not be alone. Suddenly, a chill ran through his body. He felt that they might all die here today. Just now, I lured the most aggressive black dog to a corner. Then a stream of venom instantly covered its dog face. Snake is done playing with you. Game over. Time to get down to business. So I opened my big mouth and shot up from between the trees above my head. In a flash, I bit the hunting dog's nape. Seeing the three men approaching from 100 meters away, I released the dog fell to the ground and quickly disappeared into the bushes. When the three arrived, both hunting dogs were lying on the ground, twitching. Becoming increasingly stiff, Chen Laosi punched a tree trunk hard. Damn it! I don't want the money anymore. I have to catch that beast and skin it alive. At this moment, Old Lu's face changed drastically. Not good. Hurry to Old Wu's place. That creature is definitely heading toward them. So, he immediately turned and rushed toward Old Wu's position. I originally planned to take out the isolated Old Wu first, but halfway there I suddenly stopped. They had probably guessed my intention. Instead of chasing, it's better to set an ambush halfway. I carefully hid behind a large tea tree. Dead grass and fallen leaves became the best cover. Sure enough, the three shouted, "Old Wu, be careful!" while moving through the bushes. The ground was slippery, forcing them to keep a safe distance of over 2 meters. The last one, Old Lei, walked past my hiding spot with his shotgun. He slipped and instinctively grabbed a tea tree. Seeing this, my eyes lit up. Good opportunity. The next second, I shot out like lightning and bit down hard on his hand. As venom injected, Old Li screamed and fell. I struck and retreated, never lingering. I know very well the power of a shotgun. Close combat means certain death. The best hunter often appears as prey. The hunt has just begun. Hearing the screams behind, Old Lu and Chen Laosi turned around. They saw Old Li holding his wrist lying on the ground. With black-purple venomous blood flowing, Chen Laosi was furious. He raised his shotgun and fired a shot in the direction I disappeared. About to chase, but Old Lu grabbed him. Do you want to die? Chen Laosi stopped, gradually regaining his senses. The beast is trying to pick us off one by one. If you chase, you'll just be another meal. Old Lu's expression was complicated, with a hint of despair. I've caught snakes all my life. Never thought I'd end up being killed by a snake. It's karma. He sighed while helping Old Li treat the wound. Chen Laosi was on high alert around. At that moment, his heart was pounding with fear. Now 2 of them were injured. They needed immediate treatment, and also had to get out of this deep mountain quickly. Just then, another gunshot suddenly came from the hillside below, followed by a scream. Instantly, both of them turned pale. Not good something happened to Old Wu. The 5-man team had 3 seriously injured. This was a devastating blow. At this time, at the bottom of the slope, I was coldly staring at Old Wu, who had fallen to the ground. I almost couldn't break through his defense when I ambushed him just now. Luckily, I dodged quickly and came out unscathed. My eyes swept over his backpack. On the mat, there were needles and anti-venom everything. Truly a professional snake-catching team. Much more professional than my previous self. But what attracted me the most was an egg-sized fruit on the mat. Half red as blood, half white and transparent, emitting an enticing aroma. It looked like I wanted to eat it, so I didn't hesitate to use the appraisal skill. Fiery golden eyes. The next second, the fruit's information appeared before me. Snow forest fruit. A strange fruit containing a large amount of spiritual energy, grows in a yin-cold cave with rich spiritual energy. After consumption can gain 10,000 energy points, not limited by bottlenecks, but may also explode and die if unable to withstand it. Seeing this, my eyes lit up. I'm rich. 10,000 energy points are enough to exchange for 1,000 evolution points. If I rely solely on devouring prey, at my current pace, it would take at least 10 days or half a month. My heart was ecstatic. I decisively ignored the risk of exploding and dying, and picked up the blood-red fruit in my mouth, planning to find a safe place to swallow it. Just then, old Wu, who was half unconscious, suddenly opened his eyes. This fruit was discovered in a northern cave. His younger brother ate one and immediately exploded into a pool of blood. He kept this one to find out the cause of death. Seeing that I was about to take it away, he raised his shotgun in a last burst of energy. Just as I had the blood-red fruit in my mouth, he pulled the trigger. Countless steel pellets sprayed at me 5 meters away. Seeing this, I quickly tightened my scales and protected my head. Damn it, I should have injected more venom into his body just now. I didn't expect he wasn't fully paralyzed and still had the strength to shoot. The next second, a tearing pain shot through my back. 3 pellets cut through my scales, leaving 3 deep bloody grooves. As blood gushed out, I couldn't care about revenge. The priority was to escape this area. Luckily, the toxins affected his nerve response, making him slow, so his aim was off. Otherwise, with so many pellets, it couldn't be that only 3 hit me. Now I couldn't even care about the tearing wound on my back. I sprinted without stopping. The blood-red fruit clenched tightly in my mouth. Blood stained the bushes along the way. Some thorns scraped against the wound, making me grimace in pain. At that moment, Scarface and the others, hearing the gunshot, appeared 40 or 50 meters away. Seeing this, Qian Laosi immediately asked Old Lu, "That beast is injured, should we chase?" Scarface glanced at him. "If you're not afraid to die, go ahead. Our priority is to treat their wounds and find a way out of here." Meanwhile, on the descending path not far away, I endured the pain and dashed, leaving a trail of blotchy blood. I didn't dare return to my previous philosophy. The immediate priority was to rush into the lake and escape. After swimming in the lake for who knows how long, I saw a floating bamboo raft. Confirming no one was around, I climbed onto it with difficulty. Then everything went black, and I fell unconscious, fell into a coma. The blood spirit fruit in my mouth was swallowed by me subconsciously. Dad, Grandpa, look. There's a big snake on our bamboo raft. A fishing boat is sailing on the lake. On the electric assault boat stood a little girl around 10 years old. A man in his 30s was driving the boat. An old man beside him was scattering fish bait into the lake. Hearing the shouts, the old man and the man looked in the direction pointed. They couldn't help but gasp. The king cobra coiled on the bamboo raft had a waist thicker than the man's thigh. It looked like a Tiobo Shanfeng, a large venomous snake. It must be injured. The man drove the boat carefully. Yeah, judging by its size. This guy is already comparable to a python. I've lived my whole life and never seen such a big Guoshenfeng king cobra. Truly a bizarre disaster. The old man stopped scattering bait and looked me up and down. "Grandpa, I think we should save him. A snake that can grow this big must have its significance." And my intuition tells me, this snake is extraordinary. Hearing the girl's words, the father and son exchange glances. This little one has been different from other kids since childhood. She likes interacting with all kinds of animals, even snakes and centipedes that others fear. Once they're with her, they become very well behaved. "Are you sure we should save him? This guy isn't like those small snakes you've helped before. This is a big venomous snake. Are you sure you can handle it?" The man stared at the little girl, with a hint of doubt on his face. The little girl nodded solemnly. "I trust my intuition." Hearing this, the old man made the decision, "All right, we'll listen to you. We'll take this risk just this once." At that time, due to excessive blood loss, I had fallen into a coma, but only my body was dead. I still retained a faint trace of consciousness. The swallowed blood spirit fruit turned into a huge amount of energy, sealed away by some fine mechanism. Could only be absorbed after my body woke up. Listening to the commotion outside, I felt anxious inside. It was like just escaping the tiger's mouth only to fall into the wolf's den. I couldn't move at all right now, completely at the mercy of others like fish on a chopping block. But what I didn't expect was that the little girl actually said she wanted to save me. I couldn't help but sigh. The most cruel are humans, and the kindest are also them. Heaven hasn't abandoned me. Finally, I've met some good people this time. After the fishing boat pulled up, the man poked me with a stick. Only after confirming I was deeply unconscious did he speak. "Looking at this wound, it's obviously from a hunting rifle. The cuts aren't too deep, but the wound area is quite large. Must get treated as soon as possible." The little girl reached out her small hand with concern, wanting to touch my head. "So can his injury be treated?" The man slapped the little girl's hand away. "This child, be careful. This is a big snake, not like those cats and dogs." Hearing this, the old man immediately stopped him. "Agui, all living things have spirit. Although snakes are cold-blooded animals, they have their own rules too. We're going to save him, not harm him. Xiao Feng touching him won't cause any trouble." After Agui checked my injuries, he said, "Lucky for him, he's a snake. If it were any other animal, it would have died from blood loss by now. But we don't have any medicine on the boat to save him. We have to take him home first before we can treat him." Hearing this, the old man stepped onto the bamboo raft and touched my head. "Little snake, we're gonna save you. Don't hurt anyone out of panic, okay?" Saying that, they took out a bag and put me inside. carefully carried me into the dark compartment. Feeling all this, I was filled with gratitude. But unable to make any response, I silently vowed to repay this kindness in the future. 7 days passed in a flash. Thanks to the careful care of Xiaofeng's family, my injuries had mostly healed. When I first woke up, except for Xiaofeng, everyone else was wary and afraid of me. But after a few days together, they found that I was intelligent and completely non-aggressive. Gradually, they accepted me, especially once Xiaofeng's younger brother, less than 5 years old, sneaked into my little room, scaring the whole family half to death. In the end, not only did I not attack, when that brat accidentally touched my wound, I endured the intense pain without moving. Seeing this, the old man proudly stroked his beard. See, I told you. Animals have spirit. They also have a sense of gratitude. They know good from bad. Looking at his smug expression, I couldn't help but roll my eyes. If it weren't for the human soul hiding inside my shell, your grandson would have been a goner. But honestly speaking, deep down, I was still grateful to this family. If they hadn't risked their lives to save me, I would probably have become some predator's meal by now. Over these 7 days, I learned about this family's background. They had contracted this lake, built a house by the lake on their own, several miles away from the nearest village. This remote location just prevented my news from leaking out. You know, there were still 2 survivors among those snake catchers. If news got out, there would definitely be trouble. I must hurry and become stronger. Then I looked out the window at the sunlight and fell into deep thought. This over 1,000 purification points. Should I use them for upgrading or body modification? Over these 7 days, I hadn't dared to use the purification points. First, to recover from my injuries. Second, I was afraid that a sudden mutation would scare this family. Repaying kindness with enmity is not my style. Just then, the door suddenly pushed open. Xiaofeng came in carrying a plucked chicken, walking unsteadily. "Dahai, open up," she said. I rolled my eyes speechlessly. This name sounds like a common mutt at the doorstep. But in front of food, Dahai it is. Then I took the chicken and slowly swallowed it. This family was well off. They even had the small room where they placed me simply decorated. At that moment, Xiaofeng gently stroked my scabbed wound. "Dahai, you've been hungry for days, right?" Eat up quickly. Eating a chicken that didn't need plucking. I even thought about settling down here. But thinking of my remaining lifespan of just over 4 years, that thought was instantly extinguished. A gentle bed is a hero's grave. Only by advancing to a higher realm could I gain more beast years. But how should I leave? Although Xiaofeng's family didn't lock me in an iron cage, the doors and windows of this independent room were tightly shut. Without hands or feet, I couldn't open them. It seemed I had to slowly earn the little girl's trust, and then find a chance to leave. Meanwhile, in the forest not far away, 10 people were leading 5 hunting dogs, searching the mountains high and low. The leader was the scar-faced old Lin. They were fully armed, each with a hunting rifle. At that moment, a man in the team asked Brother Liu, "Is that beast really that powerful?" Hearing this, scar-faced old Liu was furious, his voice filled with fear and hatred. "If you don't believe me, kid, go see what happened to old Wu and the others. They're still lying in the hospital being rescued. Don't even know if they'll make it." Seeing old Liu about to blow up, the man quickly explained, I believe. I was just curious and asked, "Recently there have been more and more reports about injured people. All over the country, no less than 100. I just wanted to be mentally prepared, that's all. In case that thing really is formidable, we'll need to adjust our strategy right." At these words, another man immediately chimed in, "Yeah, old Liu. Catching an ordinary venomous snake and catching a mutant venomous snake are 2 different things. Xiao Zhang is right. Even though the employer is paying well, losing our lives over it wouldn't be worth it." Hearing this, old Liu gritted his teeth and said, "Don't worry." That day, old Wu shot it in the body, inflicting serious injury. It couldn't have run far. It's probably recovering near this lake. And the employer said 1 million for live capture. Even dead, it's 300,000. I won't take a single cent from this money. My only request is that everyone must find that beast, then pump a few shots into it to vent my hatred. While they were discussing how to split the money, in the wooden house I had finished eating the chicken that Xiaofeng had brought. Then I slowly crawled toward the slightly open door crack, planning to test Xiaofeng's reaction. But at that moment, a voice suddenly rang in my mind. "Dahai, do you want to go out?" Hearing this, my entire snake body froze. I raised my head in shock and looked around. Seeing I was confused, Xiaofeng immediately smiled. "It's me, Dahai. I'm Xiaofeng." The next second, the system panel automatically popped up. Ding. Detected host and girl Xiaofeng. Formed a spiritual bond. Attribute panel changed. Added psychic attribute. Psychic attribute reaches 80 points initial value. Understanding techniques allows for mental communication. Psychic value reaches 100 points. Can form spiritual pressure and mental control. The higher the psychic value, the stronger the spiritual pressure. The larger, more numerous, and longer objects can be manipulated. Spiritual bond, what the heck? Could this girl have mutated too? Seeing I responded, Xiaofeng was beaming with joy. Finally, an animal can have a complete mental conversation with me. Under the resonance of the strong psychic power, I felt a strange closeness to her, so I followed the emotion and asked back, finally, "Have you had mental contact?" With many other animals before, Xiaofang squatted on the ground, hands cupping her chin. Her big round eyes stared straight at me. Yeah, but they weren't as smart as you. They could only roughly understand my words. Got close to me, but couldn't have this kind of normal mental conversation. You're the first one I've had in-depth communication with. I was freaked out by her staring. Immediately consumed a bit of energy, using fiery golden eyes. Race human, status child, level beast 9. Psychic 99, skills, mental communication, innocent heart. Seeing this, I was utterly stunned. Damn, this little girl's psychic power is about to break 100 ball. No wonder she could establish a spiritual bond with me. And she has 2 skills, especially innocent heart. Only the purest and kindest people can have it. Truly fate! This little girl could become my perfect bridge for communicating with humans in the future. I adhere to the principle of not harming unless harmed. Having an intermediary spokesperson is the best. Seeing I didn't respond, Xiaofang pouted and pretended to be angry. Hey, why aren't you talking to me? At these words, I quickly looked away. Lucky, I'm a snake. This girl will definitely be a femme fatale when she grows up. I just want to go out and bask in the sun. Hearing this, Xiaofang stood up, hands on her hips, imitating an adult, and raised her fist to gesture. All right, you can go out, but you have to be good. Don't scare my family, or else I'll knock your head. Don't worry. Your family saved my life. Even though I snake am a snake, I wouldn't repay kindness with enmity. And you're the one who can establish this mysterious connection with me. You wouldn't be a big bad snake. Saying this, she proudly touched my head, then hopped and skipped out the door, and I helplessly rolled my eyes. Slowly slithered out of the house. To avoid scaring people, I climbed up the beam to the roof, coiled up and sunbathed. The life-saving grace plus the karma of the spiritual bond. I absolutely couldn't just leave. So with a thought, I opened the attribute panel, found that my current energy was 10-100 points, enough to level up many times. After more than half an hour of crazy point allocation, I raised my level all the way to beast level 10. My body length reached 9.9 meters. Weight even hit 270 kilograms. To advance further, I needed spiritual energy, but at that moment I couldn't think too much. The crazy restructuring and sublimation left me exhausted and weak. I just wanted to close my eyes and sleep. When Agi and his father came home from work in the evening, in an instant, they were startled by me coiled on the small house rooftop, shocked. What a huge snake. When did such a big snake appear in our house? But why does this guy look so familiar? Saying this, the father and son gripped their tools tightly. Approaching cautiously, hearing the noise, Xiaofang immediately ran out of the house. Seeing this, Agi's face turned pale. He quickly shouted, "Don't come over! That nearly 10-meter long exaggerated beast on the roof might be here for revenge." A senior member of the venomous snake family, Xiaofang obediently stopped, tilted her head and exclaimed, "Dahe, how did you get so big in just half an hour?" At these words, the father and son were dumbfounded. "That's Dahe." They just noticed. The door of the small room was open, who knows when. Xiaofang nodded. "Yeah, I just made friends with Dahe. He said he wanted to sunbathe, so I let him out. If not for the spiritual connection, even she might not recognize the completely transformed me." Hearing this, Agui couldn't believe it. How is that possible? How big was that little guy? And how big is this one in front of us? Could he have been eaten? A snake? How could it grow this big in half an hour? Unless it became a spirit? Then Xiaofang pointed to the scar on my side, "Dad. Look at the scar on his body." The old man nodded firmly. "Right. That scar I personally applied the medicine. The position is unmistakable, although he's bigger. This is Dahe." I slowly opened my eyes. Seeing this, Xiaofang immediately asked Dahe, "Are you okay? How did you get so big in less than half an hour?" I half-jokingly replied, "I'm fine. Maybe the chicken you gave me was too delicious. That's why I grew so much." At these words, Xiaofang rolled her eyes. "You can even joke around. If you don't want to say it, fine." As the only human who can communicate with me normally now, I genuinely regarded her as a friend across generations. This reminded me of my previous life. My younger siblings more than a decade younger than me. My mood darkened a bit. Since reincarnating, I've deliberately avoided these memories, afraid of being consumed by pain. While I was mentally communicating with Xiaofang, Agui became even more nervous. This huge, thick, venomous python before him was a double threat. For his family's safety, he had to find a way to get me to leave. I noticed Agui's expression. Thought to myself, I am still a snake after all. The deep mountains and forests are my rightful place. I'll leave after repaying the favor. After confirming I was indeed Dahe, the father and son sat under the eaves and chatted. Ugly these days, the mountain field. The terrace keeps getting wrecked by wild boars. We need to find a way to get rid of that thing, Dad. Wild boars, we need a hunting rifle for those. We're fish farmers, we don't have one of those. The government doesn't allow shooting either. I don't have a good solution for now. Hearing the words wild boar, I immediately had an idea, Xiaofeng. Tell your father that I'm willing to help kill that wild boar as repayment for your kindness. Xiaofeng was stunned. Are you sure you can take that thing down? No problem. Consider it my small way of saying thanks. With my current maxed out beast level stats, ordinary beasts are nothing. Hearing this, Xiaofeng immediately relayed Dad to Hey, says he can help us deal with the wild boar. At these words, Agui touched Xiaofeng's forehead in shock. What did you say? Ahai wants to help us deal with the wild boar. Are you sick or something? After confirming his daughter wasn't feverish, the father and son both looked at me, and I, facing their gazes, nodded slightly. The reason I revealed that I could understand human speech is because I was close to becoming a mutant beast. I didn't care about danger from ordinary people. I would return to the deep mountains after repaying the favor. After confirming my intelligence multiple times, the father and son, barely controlling their shock, exchanged glances, then immediately bowed to me. Thank you, Snake Immortal. Hearing this, I was slightly stunned. Snake Immortal or God whatever, it's just a name for great power. Since I accepted the task, I decided to check the vegetable field first. As a former snake catcher, I knew wild boars prefer to live in groups, usually active at dawn and dusk. During the day, they hide in bushes or caves. Ordinary people can hardly find their tracks. But that's not a problem for me with the Celestial Eye map. However, I had used up all my evolution points. I didn't even have the energy to activate the radar now. Just as I was worrying, I spotted a mouse sticking its head out from behind the junk pile. Seeing this, I turned into a blur and darted past the three, snapping my jaws around that palm-sized mouse. Ding! Devoured a mouse, gained 20 energy points. This scene made Ugui's trio all drop their jaws. Damn, that was fast. And this unintentionally intimidated them a bit. After all, strength is the guarantee of safety. Then I looked at the sun in the sky, decided to set off now. Girl, I'm going to hunt that wild boar. Wait at home for my news. Sending a mental message to Xiaofeng, I turned into a shadow and rushed out the door, quickly disappeared into the forest. Then I immediately activated the Celestial Eye map to search for wild boars. Little piggies, your snake grandpa's coming. It was around 3 or 4 in the afternoon, sunny weather. I crawled along the foot of the mountain to a 100-meter-long plot of spinach field. For wild boars that haven't weathered the last days of winter, this fresh food is absolutely an irresistible temptation. They'll definitely come to raid the cabbage again. I'll ambush them here. So I found a hidden corner, coiled myself up, staring intently at the Celestial Eye. As time slowly slipped away, at the edge of the Celestial Eye map, suddenly 10 blue and white dots appeared. Seeing this, I immediately shifted the view. Soon, I spotted 2 familiar faces among the 10 people. Scarface Old Lou and Old Chien. This group not only carried hunting rifles, but also led 5 hunting dogs. I knew they were after me. Damn it, you just won't give up. They even have the guts to come again. This time I won't let any of you leave alive. To avoid causing trouble for Xiaofeng's family, I immediately changed direction, actively rushed toward them. Meanwhile, in the dense forest 2 kilometers away, the group, having found nothing after half a day, was already somewhat tired. Old Lou, we've been searching for so long, and haven't found any trace of that beast. Maybe Old Wu's shot last time severely injured him, to the brink of death. Maybe he's already dead in the lake feeding the fish. Hearing this, Old Lou glared at the speaker. What's the rush? That beast is as cunning as a fox. He wouldn't die so easily. I'm sure he was injured, and seriously at that. But to say he's dead, I absolutely don't believe it. That beast must be hiding somewhere along the shore recovering. We will definitely find him. Lao Lu's firm tone silenced everyone. Just at that moment, the dog walking in front suddenly started barking wildly. Then the other 4 dogs also seemed to be stimulated, barking wildly into the distance. Seeing this, everyone immediately raised their shotguns ready for battle. Especially Lao Lu and Chen Laosi. Cold sweat instantly broke out on their backs. Everyone be careful. Don't repeat our last mistake. However, Gu Laowu sneered dismissively. Don't worry, Lao Lu. With so many veteran hunters, plus 5 seasoned hunting dogs, how can we not handle a badly wounded venomous snake? As soon as he finished speaking, my figure appeared ahead of them, tens of meters away. Then I slowly raised 1/3 of my body, my tongue nearly 3 meters high, looking down at the crowd like the Grim Reaper. Gu Laowu exclaimed, "Holy shit! A giant snake, and a king cobra at that. A giant snake! How can there be such a huge king cobra?" Locked in my cold, slit-like gaze, everyone felt a bone-chilling cold spread throughout their bodies. They usually caught snakes only 1 or 2 meters long, and had never seen such a barrel-sized behemoth. At this moment, Qian Laosi was so scared he stammered, "No, it's not that beast. That beast wasn't this big." Could this be the parent of the Snake King from before, coming to avenge its child? The moment they were stunned, I launched a full-speed sprint. A distance of over 10 meters vanished in an instant. Riding the wind, I locked onto Lao Lu. This time they had learned their lesson, wrapping themselves tightly from head to toe, even wearing leather gloves, thinking that would protect them from me. Too naive. My serpentine body, over 10 meters long, instantly coiled around Lao Lu's body. With the sound of huge scales rubbing and bones cracking, Lao Lu's face turned ashen, and he couldn't even utter a scream. I opened my bloody mouth wide and bit down hard on his shoulder. My sharp fangs pierced through his thick clothing, violently injecting a full dose of venom. Seeing this, the crowd finally snapped out of their daze. Chen Laosi raised his shotgun ready to fight to the death, but a companion grabbed him. Lao Lu is in the middle. Do you want him dead? For the bounty. They still fantasized about capturing me alive, a more valuable giant snake, and refused to use guns. They really valued money more than their lives. Meanwhile, the 5 hunting dogs were baring their teeth. The largest one, relying on numbers, lunged at me. Without even looking, I whipped my thick tail like a steel rod. With a dull thud, that hunting dog flew sideways like a torn sack, crashing heavily to the ground after snapping a small tree, and lay there motionless. No more movement. Then I released the already dying old man, raised my tongue high, and looked down at the remaining 9. Since you want to live, then pay the price. The next second, my max-level psychic power erupted instantly. I opened my bloody maw and let out a ear-splitting furious roar. This roar carried 100 points of spiritual pressure, turning into a visible shockwave that swept across the area. Several hunters were shaken to their knees, dropping their shotguns and covering their ears in pain. Some even had blood gushing from their ears, nose, and mouth, rolling on the ground with their eyes rolled back. The remaining 4 dogs didn't even get to bark. They foamed at the mouth and passed out on the spot. Seeing this, I sneered inwardly. I didn't expect that combining psychic power with a roar would be so terrifying. Since I already had complete control, there was no longer any need to worry about Xiaofang's family. In this deep forest, even if I killed them all, no one would find out for at least 10 days or half a month. This time, not one of you will escape. While these people were dizzy and disoriented, I moved like a phantom, darting back and forth, spraying venom into everyone's face. Quickly, 2 milliliters of venom were used up in intermittent bursts. The enhanced venom within just a minute or two took the lives of these 9 people. To be safe, I bit each person on the neck again, injecting a large amount of venom. Then I coiled around each body one by one, until every corpse emitted the sound of bones breaking. Only then did I stop. With such double insurance, I don't believe any of you could survive. If you don't root out the weeds, they will grow again when the spring wind blows. To avoid future trouble, I carefully checked their backpacks and clothes for cameras, recorders, or other devices. In their bags, besides some food and first aid supplies, there were only scattered guns and weapons. Seeing this, I shook my head. In my past life, I couldn't even touch this good stuff. Now I can only leave them here as scrap. However, these things could be useful for Xiaofang's family. After all, wasn't there talk of spiritual energy revival? If something happens in the future, they can use them for self-defense. Hunting a few wild boars may not fully repay the life-saving debt. Leaving these life-saving weapons for them is one way to repay the favor. Unfortunately, the idea was good, but how to get them back was a problem. I don't have a storage space, and my stomach with 10 times the volume. Can't exactly swallow a shotgun I just got. I looked at the shotguns on the ground, a hint of helplessness in my eyes. Forget it. I need to hurry up and evolve into a beast. Maybe the system will unlock a storage function later. Then I turned my gaze to the 5 dead hunting dogs on the ground. These are all energy-rich meat. After swallowing the 5 dogs, my fullness reached the limit. My belly was slightly bulging, and I even let out a small burp. Thanks to my stomach's 10-fold digestive capacity, my movement was not affected. All right, time for the next job. Then I slowly crawled back into the woods near the spinach field, found a relatively tall tree, climbed up, coiled around a branch, and took a nap. At the same time, I split off a sliver of mental energy to monitor the clairvoyant map. Once the wild boars appeared, I could act immediately. Until sunset. Night fell, but still no boars showed up near the spinach field. I looked up at the star-studded night sky, and loneliness surged over me like a tide. I wonder if I'm in the world from my past life, or a parallel dimension, having lived as a human for nearly 30 years, suddenly turning into a snake that can only eat raw flesh and drink blood. Such an earth-shattering change fills me with fear and confusion from the depths of my soul. I don't know how long passed, when from far away on the ground came a slight tremor. On the clairvoyant map, a conspicuous blue dot appeared 2 kilometers away. Seeing this, I perked up immediately. Zooming in on the reconnaissance view, I was startled. A giant wild boar appeared on the map. This guy was at least 3 meters long, with a shoulder height of over 1 meter, like a small hill. Every time it put down a foot, it left a deep imprint on the ground. It charged straight ahead, ignoring the dense underbrush and branches as thick as a man's thumb, heading straight for the spinach field. I coiled on the tree trunk, not daring to act rashly, staring intently at that ghost-like, approaching boar king. Soon the scan data came back. This guy had actually eaten spiritual herbs. With this size, calling him boar king was no exaggeration. His strength attribute was as high as 105 points, full 5 points higher than mine. You know, even a small difference in attributes can mean life or death. No wonder. The clairvoyant map gave a slightly dangerous warning, but fortunately, apart from strength, all his other attributes were inferior to mine, especially agility and psychic power, which were below 20 points. Come on, little piggy, don't rush. Just let you peacefully enjoy the last few minutes of your life. With that, I quietly slid down the tree trunk. The route he took to the spinach field happened to pass right under this tree. I still had stuff in my belly, so I couldn't swallow this big guy. But I could kill it and let Agui handle the meat. I could also get half the spoils. That way I wouldn't have to go through the trouble of regurgitating bones after eating raw. This guy had thick skin and tough flesh. Venom spray might struggle to penetrate. The best strategy was to use my absolute speed advantage, to constantly wear down his stamina. Once a wild boar enters a rage, it loses its reason. If I hadn't reached level 10 of the beast realm, I really wouldn't want to fight head on, with a monster that even tigers would avoid. Then I held my breath and focused, staring at the boar king as it bulldozed toward me. The big boar wagged its short tail, completely unaware of the deadly threat approaching. Driven by its obsession with food, it could smell the sweetness of the spinach ahead even with its eyes closed. With every few steps, it made very pleased grunts. It wasn't yet spring, and food was scarce in the mountains. For months, it had often gone hungry. Since discovering this patch of farmland by the lake, it had been living the good life. Just as it stepped directly beneath me, I shot a stream of venom straight at its eyes. Facing a thick-skinned wild boar, only the eyes were the most vulnerable point. Boars have very poor eyesight, and it didn't notice the death above its head at all. The moment the venom fell, every hair on its body stood on end. Sensing danger, it froze in place, trying to locate the source of the attack. This gave me the perfect opportunity. To be safe, I instantly increased the dosage of venom. The venom flowed into its eyes along the sockets. The intense burning pain made the boar king fly into a rage. It rammed its head into a nearby tree. With a crisp cracking sound, the trunk as thick as a bowl was snapped cleanly. Under the dual stimulation of pain and neurotoxin, the boar king completely entered berserk mode. It crazily attacked everything around it. In an instant, dust flew everywhere, and large patches of shrubs and tree trunks were crushed and uprooted. Seeing this, I was secretly shocked. Luckily, I hadn't chosen to go head-to-head. When this guy goes berserk, even with my armor at 100 points, I might still suffer internal injuries. To avoid being caught, I climbed 2 more meters up the tree crown, staring fixedly at the boar king below. Struggle on, show me the last light of your life. After a short while, the nerve-paralyzing toxin finally took effect. After smashing through 5 or 6 small trees, the boar king finally lost its balance, crashing to the ground with a thud. Its mournful cries grew weaker and weaker until it finally stopped breathing. I had originally planned a strategy of exhaustion if the venom didn't work, but it seemed unnecessary. Still, this guy had incredible vitality, far tougher than those 10 hunters. Early the next morning, Agui brought a few familiar villagers to the spot. When they saw the hill-like boar king, their jaws practically hit the ground. Meanwhile, on my side, I was quietly resting in a room on the 2nd floor of Xiaofeng's house. To avoid scaring anyone, I watched TV out of boredom. Just then, a piece of news caught my attention. Latest report: recently on the continental shelf of the South China Sea, divers accidentally discovered a prehistoric giant skeleton. It is believed to be a giant race skeleton 10 meters tall, with 4 arms, and the bones appear metallized. A giant sword of unknown material is embedded in the chest bone. With the frequent emergence of mutated creatures around the world, humanity may be entering a new era of civilization. Seeing this, I narrowed my eyes and flicked my tongue. 4-armed giant race, mysterious giant sword. This world is getting more and more interesting. The more mutation events in the news, the more advantageous it was for me. It gave me perfect cover. Even if I behaved more strangely, people would just get used to it. However, Xiaofeng, who was nearby, saw the news, and her eyes showed unease. Dahai, now there are monsters and mutated beasts, and talk of spiritual energy revival. Is the world really going to change? I'm so scared. Seeing this, I quickly used my mental link to comfort her. Don't be afraid. Aren't we friends? If things change, I'll protect you. Hearing this, Xiaofang nodded happily and reached out to hug my big head in her arms. I believe you. When I get stronger someday, I don't just want to protect Dahe. I also want to protect Mom, Dad, and Grandpa. Half a month passed in the blink of an eye. I had originally planned to go deep into the mountains to break through with spiritual energy, but under the strong persuasion of Xiaofang's family, I secretly stayed in the second-floor room. Especially Agi. His attitude did a complete 180. Every day he provided good meat and drinks, afraid I would leave. During these 2 weeks, mutated attack incidents erupted like a spring. Even in Xiaofang's village, many livestock went mad and attacked people. I also sensed that mysterious smell in the air becoming stronger and stronger. Every breath stirred the wild power inside me. If I hadn't been suppressing it with my mental power, I might have gone mad like those beasts. And since last time, after eating the wild boar meat I had killed, Agui clearly felt a mysterious power in his body. Recently, he was full of energy, feeling like he could kill a tiger with one punch. During this half-month, I also thought about my future path. Should I sneak into the deep mountains and develop stealthily, or use our bond contract to support Xiaofang's family as my representatives in the human world? Fighting alone would eventually be too limited. The best approach is to grow in the mountains, while building a human force. But all of this depends on me having enough power to dominate all beings. Just as I was sorting out my thoughts, the ground suddenly shook violently in an earthquake. Agui yelled and rushed into the house, grabbed his youngest son, pulled his wife, and ran outside. I sensed something was wrong, and turned into a blur shooting out from the second floor. The moment my tail left the door, the 3-story house behind me violently collapsed halfway during the shaking. Trees around also fell one after another, and countless insects and rats poured out from underground, frantically fleeing toward open areas. Agui ignored the destroyed house, clutching his young son tightly, urging his wife to run toward the open fields. The old man pulled Xiaofang and followed closely. For a moment, the sky turned dark, and countless terrifying cracks opened in the ground, like a sliced cake. Bottomless abysses stretched for kilometers, with no end in sight. Facing the devastating power of nature, I felt my own weakness for the first time and could only stay close to Xiaofang's family, dodging difficultly across the cracked ground. When the earthquake finally subsided, Agui's house was completely reduced to rubble. Xiaofang's younger brother was crying his heart out, and the whole family collapsed on the ground. I activated my clairvoyant map, and the sight before me sent chills through my body. The entire landscape had changed beyond recognition. More critically, the embankment of the lake behind the mountain had collapsed during the earthquake. A great flood could come at any moment. I immediately sent a mental link, urgently warning Xiaofang to move to higher ground. Watch out for the lake flooding. I silently watched this apocalyptic scene, whether human or beast, before the power of nature. They were nothing but a joke. I couldn't help but tighten my mind. If one day I could master such terrifying, earth-shattering power, what would that be like? The sudden catastrophe threw the entire world into panic. Coastal cities were swallowed by tsunamis tens of meters high. Countless skyscrapers vanished in an instant, with countless casualties and wailing everywhere. The next second, from those newly formed cracks, an invisible, colorless energy slowly seeped out. And I also received a system notification. The concentration of spiritual energy in the air was climbing rapidly. Soon I would be able to officially advance to the next stage. Meanwhile, Xiaofang clung to the old man's waist, pointing at the ruins of her house and crying loudly, "Our home is gone! Our home is gone!" The old man looked at the floodwater bursting through the dam, tears streaming down his wrinkled face. "It's okay. As long as our whole family is still alive, we can rebuild the house." Then they all turned their eyes to me. If I hadn't warned them in time to run to higher ground, they would have been swept away by the flood by now. Just as they climbed onto the high ground, the lake bank completely collapsed. The massive torrent destroyed everything in its path. If they had been 1 minute late, the consequences would have been disastrous. Thinking of this, Agui knelt straight down in front of me with a thud and solemnly knocked his head 3 times on the ground. "Thank you, Snake Immortal, for your timely warning. Otherwise, our whole family would have been washed away by the flood." I wanted to stop him but had no hands or feet, so I quickly dodged to the side and said through the mental link to Xiaofang, "Quick, tell your father to get up." It was just a small favor, not worth such a big bow. A man has gold under his knees. He kneels to heaven, earth, and parents, not to strangers. If you truly consider me a friend, never do this again. After all, your family once saved my life. Upon hearing this, Xiaofang conveyed my words to her father exactly as I said, and helped him up. Agui smiled after hearing it. To you, it was just a small thing to say, but to us, it meant 5 lives. Such a great kindness deserves this bow. Since you don't like being called Snake Immortal, from now on, I'll call you Mr. Dehe like Xiaofang. How about I rolled my eyes. My name isn't Dahe. My name is Chenglong. You can call me Mr. Cheng, or just Along. Upon hearing this, Agui pointed to his chest and continued. All right, Mr. Cheng. I can see you are no ordinary being. I have an idea, perhaps a bit abrupt from now on. You will be part of our family. What do you think? Hearing this, the old man nodded with satisfaction. In times of chaos, if they could have this loyal and righteous giant snake protecting them, their chances of survival would greatly increase. So the old man went along with it. Yes, Mr. Cheng, I can see that you get along well with Xiaofang. If you don't mind, let her become your disciple and serve as your attendant. How about it? At these words, I was slightly taken aback. Disciple, take on an attendant. Then I realized the older the wiser. Agui directly bringing up family was a bit abrupt, so the old man used a subtle approach, using the master-disciple bond to tie me to their family's chariot. But I happened to have the same idea, so why not take the chance? So I looked at Xiaofang the girl. No need for a master-disciple relationship. I don't have much to teach you for now. If you don't mind, be my little sister. This was also my true feeling. I clearly couldn't go back to my past life's world. And in Xiaofang, I saw the shadow of my own little sister. With this opportunity, forming a sibling bond would make it proper for me to support their family later. In the end, the family settled on a compromise. Everything remained the same, but we would interact as brother and sister. I gladly accepted. Zhao Feng performed the 3 bows and 9 kowtows in the wilderness. Since I had become her teacher and elder brother, I naturally had to take on the responsibility. This great disaster destroyed their supplies. I have to go hunting and bring back a few prey to feed the family. The weather is freezing cold, bloodshed in the great calamity. We only started moving after confirming there were no aftershocks. More and more spiritual energy is leaking from the cracks in the ground. Humans and most animals cannot adapt to this difference and are beginning to show symptoms of difficulty breathing. After adjusting for half an hour, Zhao Feng followed Agui and the old man to search through the ruins of the old house for supplies. Meanwhile, I activated my Heavenly Eye map and moved through the unrecognizable mountain forest to hunt. I haven't been freeloading for the past half month. I've already found out clearly that this is a parallel world similar to the Orchid Heart of my previous life. The Daxia Kingdom where I am located has a territory of over 30 million square kilometers. Since I'm here, I'll make the best of it. Even if I'm a snake, I want to be a unique and outstanding one. However, just as I was wandering through the woods looking for prey, in the air, a strangely alluring foreign scent suddenly drifted over. This peculiar fragrance made me feel relaxed and happy, and made me so greedy that my mouth watered. But on the Heavenly Eye map, I couldn't find the source of the scent. This means the source is at least 2 kilometers away. I flicked my tongue out, with a trace of curiosity flashing in my eyes. What exactly is so tempting? Even the blood spirit last time, that contained 10,000 points of energy, didn't emit such a strange fragrance. Then following that soul-stirring foreign scent, I quickly slithered forward. But soon I realized I wasn't the only one who smelled that foreign scent. Some wild beasts that had survived the earthquake also seemed to be summoned by something, and were quickly heading in the same direction. What felt even stranger was that these former natural enemies now showed no hostility or caution whatsoever, but had hollow eyes, and moved forward side by side like mindless puppets. This scene gave me a very bad feeling. As I got closer to the source of the fragrance, I felt a force stirring inside me, uncontrollably driving my instincts forward. At that moment, a system prompt suddenly rang out. Detected that the host is affected by the fragrance of the spirit transformation bone. There is a chance of falling into an illusion. Would you like to consume 100 energy points to dispel the illusion? Lasts for 10 hours. Hearing this, I chose to consume without hesitation. The next second, a cool sensation surged through my body. My originally dazed mind instantly cleared, and the uncontrollable force dissipated completely. This secretly startled me. What a powerful fragrance! Even from this distance, it almost bewitched me. If I didn't have the system to save me, I would probably be just like those walking corpses around me, completely reduced to a puppet under someone else's control. Looking at those helpless beasts in front of me, I suddenly had an idea. I hadn't hunted in a few days anyway. Isn't this like a free buffet? Stocking up on more energy points is always a good thing. So I immediately opened my bloody mouth wide and devoured them while moving forward. In less than 3 hours, my stomach was already round and full. Along with the system prompt that saturation reached 100%, I also followed the crowd to an unfamiliar valley. It was about the size of 2 or 3 football fields, with nothing growing in the middle, and right in the center of the valley stood a lonely, mysterious little tree about 1 meter tall, entirely as green as jade. On every branch hung a crystal clear, fiery red fruit. The fruit was like a ruby covered in morning dew, with blood-like juice inside, clear and tempting, radiating a luster that tempted one to commit a crime. and within a 10-foot radius of that little tree, there wasn't a single living thing that dared to approach. The closer they got to that area, the redder the bloodshot eyes of the beasts became. They were like madmen who had lost all sense of pain, fearless of death. They crazily attacked any living thing that dared to approach the little tree. Even if they were bitten until their guts spilled out, they never retreated. On the ground ahead, piles of dead beasts were already stacked up, and the surviving lone beasts, still driven by that foreign scent, kept joining this brutal meat grinder. Seeing this, I immediately understood that the tree had become a spirit. This mysterious little tree was using the fragrance of its fruit to lure beasts into a frenzy of killing, turning their corpses into nutrients for its own growth. It was basically an enlarged version of a man-eating flower, setting a gentle trap and waiting for prey to walk into death. However, that fruit was a genuine treasure. I had to get my hands on it. So, I threw out a fiery golden eyes from hundreds of meters away. Spirit tree grows 1 inch every 100 years, grows in places rich in spiritual energy, emits a scent to lure prey and ripen the fruit. Those who smell it fall into illusion and kill each other. When the fruit ripens, the fragrance dissipates. If not picked within 3 days, the fruit withers and returns to the mother tree. When the spirit transformation fruit is ripe, it is blood red all over. Consuming it can greatly increase mental power and form a spiritual illusion, which can suppress those with lower mental power. Maximum of 3 fruits can be consumed. Looking at these heaven-defying attributes, I secretly rejoiced. This thing, aside from emitting a strange scent to bewitch people, has no defensive abilities at all. And this scent happens to be ineffective against me. What I need to do now is wait for the moment the fruit ripens. But once the fruit ripens and the scent fades, the surviving beasts will definitely fight to the death for the treasure. Even though I am a level 10 beast, if I get surrounded by a leaderless horde, my fate might not be much better. There was a sentence in the system description that immediately caught my attention. Grows in places rich in spiritual energy. The outside world's spiritual energy has just begun to recover, but here the concentration of spiritual energy is as thick as viscous daylight. Compared to the thin spiritual energy outside, it's not even in the same league. Could this valley be a secret realm that only just appeared after the massive earthquake? Just then, the system panel suddenly popped up a prompt. External spiritual energy standards met. Host can find a safe place to break through. Breakthrough takes 1 hour. Will absorb spiritual energy within a 5-kilometer radius, forming a storm to cleanse the body. During the breakthrough, the host loses all self-protection ability. If interrupted, all progress will be lost. It is recommended to find guards for protection. Seeing this, I cursed inwardly. These conditions are really harsh. In a place surrounded by enemies on all sides like this, trying to break through here is simply suicide. Better get my hands on these 3 fruits first. The breakthrough can wait. The duck in my mouth must not fly away. So I quietly coiled up in the distance, coldly watching the brutal jungle law ahead. However, just as I was waiting for the fruit to ripen, in the woods about 2 or 3 kilometers behind me, a burly man was pushing aside bushes, coming from the Dabuchao Valley. Even though it was the dead of winter, the man was only wearing a short-sleeved t-shirt, and on his back he carried a long blade. Master, really? What treasure could there be in these desolate mountains? I've been wandering around here for 2 or 3 days, and haven't seen a single hair, and almost got buried alive by the earthquake. The man suddenly stopped in his tracks. A jade pendant on his chest suddenly emitted a faint green light. On the originally intact jade pendant, a crack running 1/3 of its length had appeared. The next second, he quickly covered his mouth and nose. Such a strange fragrance. I almost fell for it. The old man didn't lie to me. This really is a treasure. Thinking back, when he spent 100,000 yuan on this jade pendant at Panjia Yuan, his master had said, "This counterfeit, this defective product can save your life at a critical moment." Now it had come true. After hesitating for a moment, the man's expression turned resolute. With the protection of the jade pendant, he strode quickly toward the source of the fragrance. Night fell. I fixed my eyes on the target ahead. In the darkness, those 3 illusion spirit fruits emitted a dazzling blood-red light, and the fragrance had reached its peak. Seeing this, my heart leaped. I immediately moved like a full moon bow toward the target. By now, the beasts ahead were exhausted, every one of them covered in wounds and completely worn out. In my current state, dealing with these remnants was a one-sided slaughter. But just as I was about to make my move, a man's voice suddenly came from behind me. There really is a treasure. Hearing this, I froze mid-motion, quickly coiled up into a defensive stance. I had been careless, too focused on the fruit. and forgot to activate the heavenly eye radar. I turned to look. 100 meters away stood a man in a short-sleeved shirt. Although he was steaming with heat, every step he took seemed a bit labored. The jade pendant on his chest flickered as it resisted the illusion. I immediately spent 1 energy point to activate fiery golden eyes, locking my gaze tightly on the uninvited guest 100 meters away. The next second I was startled. Damn, this guy's stats aren't bad either. His strength actually reached 100 points, and his agility and physique are both above 85 points. This is the strongest human I've seen since my rebirth. But these numbers, in front of me a level 10 max stat beast, are not overwhelming, and defeating him would be easy. Just as I was sizing up the man, he also noticed me. Damn, a huge king cobra. Is it about to become a spirit? The man gasped sharply, feeling a deadly threat from me all the way here. If not for the jade pendant protecting him, he would have fallen into the illusion long ago. He had wanted to give up several times, and only the thought of the treasure kept him going. After hesitating a moment, the man's gaze hardened. No way. This treasure is mine. No one is going to take it from me. As he said this, he couldn't help clenching his fists. It's just a big snake. What's there to be afraid of? I'll just kill the beast. Although he didn't know what those 3 glowing red fruits were, anything that could cause beasts to kill each other must be an extremely rare treasure. I'll take a gamble. Bike becomes motorcycle. Idiom, big risk for big reward. The man firmly stepped forward. I hadn't wanted any extra trouble, but an unexpected obstacle had appeared halfway. Damn it, I have to take care of this guy first. The moment the man took that step, my figure suddenly blurred, and I shot toward him as a shadow. Seeing this, the man was shocked but not panicked. He quickly pivoted on his front foot and rolled sideways, trying to dodge my charge. However, I had no intention of biting him. Instead, I slightly turned my head and sprayed a stream of venom. This was a completely premeditated attack. The venom rained down like a shower, covering the falling leaves where he would land after his roll. The man tried to dodge again with extreme agility, but found that his strength was spent and his momentum had not yet recovered. All escape routes were completely sealed off. He had seen the toxicity of a king cobra before, and moreover, I was a giant mutated beast on a whole different scale. Who knows how strong the poison was? He twisted to the side and leaned back, but it was useless. Most of the venom landed precisely on his chest and neck. The highly corrosive venom instantly dissolved his skin and seeped into his body. The man let out a terrified scream and involuntarily staggered back several steps. But as he retreated, his movements became stiff and unnatural. Obviously, the nerve-paralyzing toxin was taking effect. To be safe, I blurred again and rushed straight at him. The man panicked, tried to swing his fists and counterattack, but found his entire body stiff and uncontrollable. His thrown punch was weak and limp, like a spoiled girl's. Seeing that the fruit's glow was growing stronger, I had to finish this quickly. My huge snake body quickly executed a death coil, wrapping him tightly in the middle. At that moment, the man's eyes were full of regret and reluctance. Damn it! I never thought I'd meet my end here today. With the crisp sound of bones breaking, the man who had been ambitious just a moment ago lost all life. His eyes were wide open. He died with regrets. Seeing this, I slowly released the body. To be honest, if he had backed off when things got tough, I might have let him go. But since his greed was insatiable, he would stay as fertilizer. However, just as I dropped the body, the strange fragrance in this space suddenly disappeared. My heart jolted. I looked toward the sky under the illusion spirit fruit tree. The surviving beasts were waking up as if from a dream, looking around in confusion, not understanding the situation. This gave me a perfect opportunity, so I took a deep breath and instantly activated a limit sprint, with 100 points of physique providing superhuman ability. My stamina circulated rapidly. I had to swallow the fruit before these guys could react. Rushed to swallow the doctor. The next second, my figure moved through the air like a ghost, leaving behind after images and explosive sonic booms. Just as I swept across the battlefield, a large wild boar closest to the spirit tree and a big black bear were the first to react. Seeing this, I was secretly surprised. These two guys had shaken off their confusion so quickly. Without hesitation, I immediately went all out. Pushing my speed to the max, the huge sonic boom caught the attention of the boar and the bear. They instinctively turned their heads to look. In that moment of turning, I shot past them like lightning, leaving them far behind. At that instant, fear flashed in the eyes of those two giant beasts. They didn't even see what had passed them, but unwilling to give up the treasure, they charged forward madly. I didn't care what they thought. In a flash, I reached the tree, opened my huge mouth wide, and without hesitation swallowed the 3 blood-red spirit transformation fruits. In one gulp, the next second the system panel popped up, Host has consumed the spirit transformation fruit. Obtain new skill, Spirit Illusion. If a being with lower mental power than the host makes eye contact with the host, there is a 10% chance of falling into a spiritual illusion. The host can guide the target into a sweet dream or a nightmare and control their actions. Cannot perform other operations while using the skill. Each minute maintained consumes at least 10 points of mental power. The higher the mental power, the lower the consumption. Seeing this prompt, I couldn't help but stick out my tongue. This is too strong. This is a god-level life-saving skill for turning the tables. Seeing the 3 divine fruits on the tree suddenly swallowed by me, the big boar and the big black bear let out unwilling roars. With their roars, the remaining surviving beasts also fully woke up, but they were all battered, exhausted, and completely unable to fight anymore. They could only let out powerless, enraged growls. Meanwhile, I narrowed my eyes and stared at them. Perfect, I'll use you as test subjects. Locked in my cold gaze, the big boar and big bear immediately shuddered. Their facade of forced calm collapsed instantly, and they retreated in fear. Terrified that I would target them, this highly tense eye contact gave me the perfect condition to activate the skill. The next second, Spirit Illusion was activated instantly. Mental waves shot through my eyes, straight into their brains. In an instant, the eyes of the boar and bear went vacant. They became 2 mindless bodies again. It worked! I was ecstatic inside. Although there was only a 10% chance, I managed to control 2 at once. Then I immediately gave the 2 beasts a kill command. The next second, the 2 big guys who had been on the same side suddenly started biting each other like mad. This scene completely terrified the surrounding beasts who didn't understand what was happening. For a moment, the beasts fled in panic. The valley, which had briefly been calm, fell into chaos again. The remaining predators for survival lunged at the weaker ones around them. But within 100 meters of me, it became an absolute forbidden zone. Watching the 2 big guys fighting each other like mad, I was very satisfied. Since the first test was so effective, there was no need to waste mental power on those 2 fools. The moment I withdrew my mental power, the 2 big guys collapsed to the ground. Panting heavily, after they regained consciousness, they looked at me with extreme terror in their eyes. I hadn't blocked their perception of the outside world, nor had I woven dreams. It was pure control. They had watched their own bodies out of control, fighting each other to the death. This inhuman experience would be unforgettable for them. But I ignored them and slithered toward the dead man. The jade pendant on his chest, with its mysterious power, had caught my attention. I could take it as a gift for Xiaofeng. As I passed by those 2 big guys, they were startled, thinking I was going to kill them, but I didn't even look at them, and slowly slithered past. Seeing this, both of them breathed a sigh of relief, especially the big black bear. A strange glint suddenly flashed in its eyes, as if it had made a decision. The next second, it took a deep breath, struggled to its feet, scurried in front of me, and flopped down, prostrating itself before me. I was completely dumbfounded. What does this guy want? Isn't it afraid of death? Then I half raised my body, looking down at it from above, with fiery golden eyes. Its attributes appeared before me. Strength reached an astonishing 100 points. Except for agility, all other stats were above 60. Like me, it was a beast at the peak of level 10. Definitely a dominant presence in this forest. When I raised my head, the big bear lowered its head even more, trembling and letting out low whimpering growls. Only then did I finally understand. This guy clearly wanted to submit to me. I couldn't help but laugh inside. Oh, this kingly aura of mine is really leaking out. I've even got a little fan actively coming to me. No reason to refuse. But how to communicate with it? My spiritual contract with Xiaofeng was a coincidence. Just as I was wondering what to do, the system panel suddenly popped up in front of me. Detected that a creature has voluntarily submitted to the host. Do you wish to accept it as a follower? Upon acceptance, the host will gain 100 points of mental power growth and receive feedback of part of the follower's abilities. Additionally, a new soul mark skill will be unlocked, allowing the host to imprint a mark deep in the target's soul, making them permanently loyal. And when near the host, they can share half of the host's attribute aura. The first mark requires 100 mental points, the second 1,000 points, and so on. Each mark is extremely precious. Please use carefully. Seeing this, my eyes lit up. In less than half a day, I had another dominant skill to enslave others. Control over life and death. This is incredibly overpowered. So I immediately chose to accept it as a follower. This big, stupid bear with its powerful skill that came to me voluntarily, I would not only accept it, but also make it my top henchman from now on, and make sure to look after it well. With the command issued, a mysterious force merged into the minds of both me and the big bear. After a short while, a silly voice rang in my mind. Boss. Having experience communicating with Xiaofeng, I wasn't surprised. Since you voluntarily submitted, from now on you will be called Xiongda. Don't worry, I will definitely help you avenge. Get up. Having obtained my consent, Yongda's cloudy eyes suddenly shone brightly. Just then, system prompts rang out one after another. Ding! Host subdues first soul servant. Power value plus 100. New skill acquired soul mark. Ding! Acquired common feedback skill boundless strength. Consumes 1000 energy points. Can double the strength attribute. Lasts 10 minutes. However, just as I was excitedly looking at this information, a harsh warning suddenly rang in my mind. Host warning warning. Host attributes are breaking through. Current maximum limit is about to break through the realm. Please, within half an hour, find a concealed area to undergo the breakthrough. Otherwise, the physical body will face a crisis of explosion. Hearing this, my mind was instantly in turmoil. This harvest was too insane. A treat. Buttes have completely exceeded the current realm's limit. Half an hour. I need to quickly find a safe cave entrance. Just right, I have Xiongda as a guardian. Thinking of this, I immediately opened the Sky Eye map. With my current size, it's not easy to find a suitable hiding place. Soon I locked onto a hillside a kilometer away. 2 large green stones tightly packed together. The map shows that right under the green stones there is a hidden half-body cave. And there's only one narrow passage. One man can hold the pass against 10,000. Perfect for having Xiongda block the entrance. Then I called Xiongda and we ran all the way there. Under the sharing of my attribute aura, his strength instantly surged. His whole body was filled with earth-shattering power. Soon, I led Xiongda to those 2 large green stones. After assigning Xiongda his task, I slithered into the pitch-black cave. With a command from me, my entire body instantly fell into the extreme of flesh and blood. Reorganization. In a tearing sensation, immediately after a visible vortex of spiritual energy frantically converged towards my coiled body. Such an exaggerated spiritual energy tide naturally attracted all mutated beasts. They followed the instinctive desire, and they all rushed over here madly. Fortunately, most of the fierce beasts in the vicinity had already fallen at the Valley of Huanling Wood. The commotion. Only a few scattered small predators from the outer edges came. Luckily, Xiongda outside the cave entrance stayed dutifully in place, not moving an inch. His bear ears perked up, his nose twitching continuously. Extremely alert. More than 10 minutes later, a pack of wolves appeared 100 meters outside the cave. Although the spiritual energy storm was a fatal temptation to them, this group of cunning predators did not act rashly. The violent black bear at the cave entrance and the terrifying pressure emanating from the cave were undoubtedly warning them that there was a peerless beast king undergoing transformation here. If the transformation succeeds, this forest will welcome a new master. If it fails, the flesh of this terrifying existence will be an excellent tonic for their evolution. The wolf pack patiently lurked nearby, waiting for the outcome. It was not only them who had the same plan. On the hills around the large green stone, yellow weasels appeared one after another, giant snakes and 2-tailed foxes. Various strange predators intimidated dared not approach, but none were willing to leave. Yongda naturally had long noticed these ill-intentioned guys hiding in the shadows, but thinking of my orders, he suppressed the impulse to charge out. Guarding the cave entrance firmly, a glint of ferocity flashed in his eyes. For now, let you guys watch secretly. When the boss comes out, I'll be the first to deal with you. As no more spiritual energy influx from outside, the intense pain in my body instantly dissipated, replaced by an indescribable exhaustion and emptiness. Just then, the scales all over my body suddenly opened. Facing the last remaining essence of pure spiritual energy I fiercely inhaled, a cool feeling instantly swept away, the fatigue making me feel refreshed as if floating in the clouds. And congratulations, host, on breakthrough success. Life level has undergone a leap. First perfect major realm breakthrough. Attributes upgraded to peak of current level. Reward SSS level tier 2 bloodline. Obtained 512 times potential increase. Greatly improved absorption, speed and efficiency of heaven and earth spiritual energy. Obtained new skill burning bloodline. Only consumes 500 energy points. All attributes can be doubled for 10 minutes. After skill ends, fall into weakness for 1 hour. After hearing this, I couldn't wait to open the panel. I saw that the limit of each basic attribute had soared from 100 to 200 points, and the current state had been automatically maxed to 199 points. Not only that, the biggest change was in energy conversion. Previously, 10 energy points could exchange for 1 essence. Now it had become 50 points for 1 point. The price had directly increased 5-fold. Seeing this, I couldn't help cursing the system for being too unfair. If I had known I wouldn't have been in a hurry to break through, it would have been better to max out those skills first. When I, with my 15-meter-long massive body, appeared at the cave entrance, Xiongda was directly stunned. If not for the soul-bound connection, he wouldn't have dared to recognize this terrifying steel giant beast. However, what shocked Xiangda even more was that, since I had broken through, the attribute aura bestowed upon him had also risen accordingly. His power became more surging. As the spiritual energy storm subsided, a pressure far beyond the previous terrifying pressure rippled out from the cave entrance. Feeling this oppressive aura belonging to the beast soldier level, most of the lurking alien beasts quietly retreated, but there were always a few fearless ones. Although they retreated a bit, they still hid in the dark. Seeing this, a cold light flashed in my eyes. Xiangda, go! Kill those reckless guys! Remember to drag their corpses back to me. Although the breakthrough earlier made me seem safe, I knew very well how dangerous it was. If not for Xiangda blocking the door, once interrupted, the outcome would have been a narrow escape from death. Since they came to court death, then leave their lives behind. Xiangda, receiving the order, let out an excited roar. Like a black war chariot, he directly charged into the outermost wolf pack. Meanwhile, I leisurely came to a large green stone under the moonlight. My body, like steel armor, had pitch-black scales that refracted a cold, sinister gleam, like a merciless pitch-black king overlooking all beings. When I brought Xiangda back to the temporary camp, under my once again swollen huge body, they almost mistook me for another giant beast. Especially Xiangda, following closely behind. That terrifying pressure scared the old man so much he almost couldn't breathe. Xiaofang was also surprised by my change, but through the spiritual contract, she could clearly sense my aura. Seeing this, I showed a wry smile. In just a few days, I went from a small spicy strip in a wine jar to a 15-meter-long behemoth. Anyone would be afraid. After a brief calming down, especially as Xiaofang quickly became familiar with Xiangda, the father and son slowly relaxed. I also learned what happened while I was in the mountains. At that time, not long after I left, a pack of rabid stray dogs and wildcats suddenly pounced on the camp. Fortunately, Xiaofang and her mother hid in the wooden house. Wang Gui and his son fought desperately, until Guy split the head of the leading big black dog with an axe. Only then did those rabid wildcats and dogs reluctantly disperse. The old man also had several scratch marks left on him. After the spiritual energy fully revived, all living beings began large-scale mutation. At this time, Xiaofang suddenly spoke to me. "Oh right, Master, I seem to be able to use telekinesis. Just now, watching Dad and Grandpa fighting outside, I was anxious. I don't know what happened, but small stones and branches around me flew up, as if knowing my thoughts, and pelted those guys head on. Dad also took advantage of the big black dog's daze, and split it with an axe. Hearing this, I was slightly surprised. Being able to self-awaken telekinesis without guidance. This girl is definitely a genius. I really struck gold with this disciple. In less than 10 days, she will definitely be a great help to me." Then I opened my mouth and spat out that jade pendant in front of Xiaofang. Her gaze was instantly attracted by this half-palm-sized jade pendant. "Master, what is this thing? So beautiful." I used my tail to touch her head, a little something for self-defense. Wear it around your neck, it can temporarily stabilize your mind, unaffected by disturbances. However, Xiaofang picked up the jade pendant but did not put it on herself. Instead, she carefully entered the wooden house and placed the jade pendant next to her frightened, shocked mother and sleeping younger brother. Seeing this scene, I was very satisfied. Filial piety is the greatest of all virtues. Only a person with a pure heart is worth my personal cultivation. Early the next morning, I led Xiaofang's family down the mountain. The group struggled through the mud, dry wilderness. But when we arrived at the village at the foot of the mountain, all that remained was a flooded ruin of broken walls, and a few corpses of humans and poultry floating in the muddy water. Seeing this, I slithered towards the ruins first. I called out to everyone, "Look around! See if there's anything useful." Since I decided to support this family in this early apocalypse, I must do my utmost to help them stand firm. Just as we were searching for supplies, in another village 2 kilometers away, a dozen young men were being wildly chased by 5 or 6 rabid water buffalo, and such tragedies were happening simultaneously all over the world. Half a month later, my body length had exceeded 20 meters. My waist was thicker than a bucket. My scales glistened like diamond in the sunlight. Last night, I also successfully broke through to high-level beast soldier. Xiangda beside me had also grown a lot, like a black iron tower. Recently, the food was good and spiritual energy abundant. He also successfully entered the initial beast soldier level. At this moment, Xiangda and I were following a refugee group of 2 to 3,000 people slowly moving forward. These people were all survivors from Xiaofang's town and the villages along the way. Under the catastrophe, not only had beasts changed, a very small number of awakened individuals had also emerged among humans. They could sense spiritual energy, refine their bodies, and become incredibly strong. But there were fewer than 30 awakened in this team, and most were adolescents full of bravado. having only brute force and no combat experience. Along the way, from time to time rabid cats and dogs, cattle and sheep with red eyes, followed and launched sneak attacks. If not for me and Xiangda fighting, plus Xiaofang and the awakened ones, this team would probably have perished long ago. Wang Gui's family now vaguely became the core of this team. Although people initially were full of fear towards me, a giant python and the giant bear, after more than 10 days, they discovered that as long as they didn't provoke these two terrifying giant beasts, they not only wouldn't harm people, but would also act as the sturdiest shields. Gradually, Xiaofang was elected as one of the pillars of the refugee group. Among them, there were inevitably some power struggles and dirty deeds, but I left it all to Xiaofang to handle herself. I only stood by to give her authority. This girl did not disappoint me. Her methods became more and more mature. Gradually, she subdued everyone. However, even when fleeing famine, I didn't mistreat myself. Along the way, there were always brave survivors, who under Xiaofang's command, helped me deal with those reckless beast corpses, and even prepared a nice barbecue feast for me. Life was quite comfortable. Xiangda, that silly fellow, was even hanging out with a honey seller, a wandering merchant, following him around every day, freeloading. That day, we passed by a dilapidated village. Just as the vanguard entered the village entrance, a piercing scream tore through the sky. I, guarding the rear, immediately opened my sky eye and scanned the village. I saw that in the village, a mutated black cow over 10 feet tall was leading a dozen of its kind, confronting the vanguard. And on the left horn of the leading black cow hung an unlucky guy whose chest had been pierced. Seeing this, I raised an eyebrow. This level of monster was not something those newbie awakened, with kitchen knives and iron bars could handle. Immediately, my massive body turned into a black lightning bolt and headed straight for the village. At this moment, the few young awakened, facing off against the mutated big black cow, were very tense. Although they held machetes and sticks, none of them dared to attack first. And Wu Feng, as the strongest among these awakened, although he was not afraid of death, lacked practical experience. There were thousands of lives behind him. He dared not act rashly. The big black cow saw a dozen greenhorns come out opposite. It was also slightly stunned. It could sense that these kids were different from the old, weak, sick, and disabled behind them. They were not without threat, so it cautiously chose to probe and stalemate. However, the stalemate did not last a few seconds before a yellow cow beside the big black cow resolutely launched an attack. Facing the maddened yellow cow, the crowd immediately dispersed to dodge. A young man agilely rolled on the spot and backhandedly chopped at the yellow cow's belly with an axe. This act instantly ignited the cattle herd. The other 7 or 8 cows simultaneously lowered their heads, revealing sharp horns, and charged at full speed. The only one that didn't move was the largest black cow. It seemed to sense an unusual danger, staring vigilantly at these rookies. Its instinct told it that the real terror was still behind. Just as the awakened and the cattle herd were completely engaged in a melee at the village entrance, the massive bodies of me and Xiangda slowly emerged. Beside us was Xiaofang, her face flushed with excitement. And at Xiaofang's side, there were, surprisingly, 20 shiny fruit knives floating in the air. Since learning that she had awakened telekinesis, under my guidance, she had found these knives from a ruined supermarket. Then I activated my fiery eyes and quickly scanned that big black cow. After seeing the attribute panel of the black cow, I immediately breathed a sigh of relief. Then I turned to Xiaofang beside me and said, "Girl, I'll leave these guys to you. Whether your master can have grilled steak tonight depends on your knife skills." Upon hearing this, Xiaofang stepped forward and the 20 daggers moved like an extension of her arms, turning into silver lightning bolts, and shot towards the nearest black cow. A black cow that was about to charge into the crowd didn't even have time to react, before the circle of flying knives surrounded its thick neck and legs, and killed it in one go. The young man who was about to use brute force to withstand the cow's horns suddenly felt his hands loosen. A huge cow head rolled directly at his feet. Damn, that's too cool. Seeing half of its companions fall instantly, that largest big black cow had a flash of panic in its eyes. It instinctively stepped back 2 steps. In a one-on-one fight, it could also massacre these guys, but it could never instantly wipe out a group like that. More importantly, it clearly knew that human child was not the most terrifying. The truly deadly thing was me, like a steel great wall behind her. Even that giant bear beside me had strength not inferior to its own. Seeing it was about to flee, my eyes hardened and my figure shot out like black lightning. With my intervention, Xiangda also roared and pounced on the remaining black cows. The battle instantly turned into a one-sided massacre. That terminal beast soldier level big black cow even didn't have time to turn and flee before I coiled around it and crushed all its bones. In less than a few minutes, it was completely lifeless. At this moment, someone in the team shouted, "Snake King Mighty?" Immediately, The whole place erupted in joyful cheers of survival, but I didn't pay attention. As my #1 spokesperson, Wang Gui and his son were already skillfully calling people to clean up the battlefield. More than a dozen mutated cattle, except for the largest big black cow that went into my stomach, were divided among the team of thousands. Everyone received some meat. Someone even prepared grilled meat for me. It was much more comfortable than swallowing it raw. And Xiangda, since following me, no longer had to live in fear. Every day, someone was specially assigned to groom and feed him. In his eyes, this was simply heaven. Feeling his happy-go-lucky demeanor, I couldn't help rolling my eyes. But this silly guy's attributes were indeed astonishing. He actually had an SS-level bloodline, only one level lower than mine. During this time, I secretly observed the awakened in the team. Among the 26 awakened, only 3 had bloodline power. Wu Feng was C level, another was D level, and Xiaofeng was a terrifying SS level. This showed how precious bloodline awakening was. Awakened without bloodlines absorb spiritual energy at a speed that cannot compare to our tens or hundreds of times amplified cheaters. However, just as we were enjoying the full cow feast, a few kilometers away, a 100-man armed squad fully equipped was slowly advancing towards our direction. More than half a month had passed since the great disaster. Countries around the world were all on their own self-rescue journeys. This disaster swept the globe. Although the disasters triggered by earthquakes varied, the mutated creatures spawned by the spiritual energy revival would not leave survivors any breathing room. As one of the strongest countries in the world, Daxia operated extremely efficiently in disaster relief. The military and police merged quickly, establishing various self-rescue units. And this company from Daxia's southern military region was acting as the vanguard, searching for survivors in this area. Soon, the sentry soldiers noticed something unusual. On the mountain road a kilometer ahead, there was a group of mutated Jurassic beasts blocking their path. There were about 200 to 300 of them. Upon hearing the news, Company Commander Xiaofeng's face darkened. Although it had only been half a month since the catastrophe, the government had already conducted preliminary research on alien beasts. Jurassic beasts were mutated from domestic pigs and wild boars, thick-skinned and tough, extremely strong, and very fast. They could be called tanks among alien beasts. Ordinary firearms could hardly inflict fatal injuries on them. After hesitating for a moment, Xiaofeng made a prompt decision and gave the order to prepare for battle. Whether for the living people ahead, or for these deceased fellow countrymen, we must clear this passage. However, regarding the upcoming battle ahead, I was unaware. At this time, the refugee camp had set up tents. Most people had fallen asleep from exhaustion. As for me, I took Xiaofeng and Xiangda to scout ahead. Take a walk. The big black cow earlier only filled me halfway. With my size swelling, my appetite grew larger. Taking advantage of this digestion time, I might as well try my luck ahead. But we hadn't gone far when a violent explosion suddenly came from afar. The 3 of us immediately perked up. We rushed towards the sound of the explosion. Meanwhile, in the forest on the other side, Heisey looked at the fearless Jurassic beasts opposite, his face full of worry. Company Commander, there are too many of them. Our ammunition might not hold out. For this rescue mission, they traveled light. They had no heavy weapons at all. Although they had killed quite a few using cover, more and more boars surged in from behind. 2 front line fire points had already been breached. The warrior's fate is unknown. But thankfully, the only ones who truly completed the mutation were those 3 10-foot-tall boar kings. They hid behind commanding the herd to exhaust us, hesitating to enter the fray themselves. Otherwise, the battle line would have collapsed long ago. And through the Sky Eye map saw the carnage ahead clearly. Yet my war robe stopped me in my tracks. These were the soldiers of this world, engaged in a firefight with a group of mutated boars. At that moment, I was conflicted whether to help. In this refugee convoy, I could crush those half-baked awakened ones with my strength and become the lofty Snake King. But when facing a well-equipped, well-trained regular army, if they turned on me, could I withstand the activation of hot weapons now? Humans have always had only 2 attitudes toward the different, either submit and worship, or dissect in iron cages. Thinking this, I hesitated. Lately, I've been addicted to the good life of being served, and indeed, I've lost myself in the gentle embrace. Heroic breed, huh? Then my eyes turned fierce. I made a decision instantly. What the hell, I'm not afraid. At worst, if things go wrong, I'll take Xiangda and just bolt. With my 199-point breakthrough attributes, who could keep me when I run? Soon, our strange group of 1 human and 2 beasts blatantly barged into the rear of the battlefield. When my body emerged from the darkness, the entire company's firepower halted in unison. Even the frenzied charging Jurassic beasts felt extreme unease from their bloodline. Seeing this, Company Commander Xiaofeng was stunned. a little girl, together with such a huge snake, and a giant bear. Am I seeing things? The battlefield, due to our sudden appearance, fell into an eerie silence. But I ignored the shocked human gazes. I gave orders to Xiaofeng and Xiongda to catch the bandits, catch the king first. You two take care of one boar king. Leave the other two big ones to me. With that, my figure shot out like a black lightning bolt. Seeing that, the strongest boar king also reacted immediately. Eyes red, it prepared to charge at me. But the moment our eyes met, a massive mental force like a blade, through his crimson eyes, pierced deep into his brain. The boar king's body began to tremble violently. The next second, he suddenly turned his spearhead and fiercely charged at another boar king beside him. At this time, Xiongda had also rushed hundreds of meters away, just setting down Xiaofeng from his back, ready to enter the fray. Seeing this, he couldn't help shivering. The boss is using that weird skill again. This guy is finished. Xiongda didn't hesitate either. Roaring, he pounced on another boar, the bewildered boar king. Strike while the iron is hot. The second boar king, caught off guard, was completely dazed. He couldn't understand why the leader didn't fight humans and the giant bear, but instead turned and rammed him, sending him flying over 10 meters. The huge body of the second boar king crashed into a group of ordinary wild boars behind, instantly crushing a bunch, screams rising everywhere. Heisey, who was about to shoot, saw this absurd scene. His jaw nearly dropped. Company commander, has the Jurassic King gone mad? Why isn't it attacking that big snake, but instead turning on its own kind? However, Company Commander Xiaofeng was also dumbfounded. When he saw me launching an attack on the boar kings, he vaguely guessed that our strange trio were allies, but such a bizarre turn of the battle left the soldiers who had been ready to open fire frozen in place. They released their fingers from the triggers. On the other side, Xiaofeng, who had dismounted from Xiongda's back, moved with a thought. The 20 brand new fruit knives, hanging at his waist and back, immediately floated in the air. As Xiongda and I successively pinned down the 3 boar kings, Xiaofeng keenly noticed that several clever Jurassic beasts were trying to circle around and ambush me. So with a thought, the 20 flying knives, like an extension of his fingers, turned into deadly silver streaks, precisely slitting the throat of one ambusher, while another knife fiercely stabbed out the eyes of a fat boar behind. The soldiers were all stunned by this sight. It was the first time they had seen someone controlling flying knives, like the sword immortals in myths, delivering fatal strikes to targets. The accuracy was even better than shooting, and he was handling 20 at once. Is he even human? Xiaofeng, as an experienced company commander, seized the moment and gave the order to fire. Everyone fire! Don't accidentally hit that little girl. Without the command of the 3 boar kings, facing the terrifying pressure emanating from me and Xiongda, plus the company's fierce crossfire, the remaining 300 to 400 Jurassic beasts were completely broken. Apartment. Leaderless, some continued their mindless charge. Some tried to return to the boar kings, others turned and ran. The battle instantly turned into a one-sided slaughter. Under my mental control, Boar King 1, unafraid of death, fiercely attacked Boar King 2. The life and death struggle between the 2 ultimate beasts was extremely brutal. Boar King 2, already heavily injured, soon lay dying from the infighting. Meanwhile, the hand-to-hand combat between Xiongda and Boar King 3 had no suspense either. Originally, their strength was evenly matched, but Boar King 3 had clearly been terrified by the strange situation on the battlefield. Even if Boar King 1 hadn't gone mad, the 3 brothers together were no match for me and the giant bear. What's more, there was also a creepy human child behind, now reaping lives crazily. Soon Boar King 3 completely lost his will to fight. To survive, he endured Xiongda tearing off one of his legs, forced his way through a bloody path, and fled into the deep mountains without looking back. With Boar King 3's rout and the mass death of the boar herd, the battle soon came to an end. Xiongda then came to me with his head drooping, trembling slightly like a child who had done wrong. "Boss, I'm sorry. I let that guy escape." Seeing his pitiful look, I didn't blame him. Boar King 3 broke through desperately. Xiongda avoiding his sharp edge was normal. So I led Xiongda to retreat a few hundred meters, and told Xiaofeng to go negotiate with the soldiers. After all, my current identity was that of a beast. After hearing Xiaofeng's introduction, Heezy and the soldiers' mouths dropped wide open. That guy is really your master. But soon everyone accepted it. In the era of spiritual energy revival, not only beasts mutate, awakened humans also appear. A little girl awakened superpowers, and became the disciple of an enlightened snake horse. That didn't seem unacceptable, looking at Xiaofeng's innocent face, and then at me and Xiongda, who were keeping our distance. Company commander. Xiaofeng finally managed to digest the fact. As a military officer, he knew well that under the current situation, uniting all forces that could be united to survive the catastrophe was the priority. As long as they were on the human side, alien beasts could also be friends. so Xiaofeng braced himself and came before me. "Hello, I am Xiaofeng Company commander of this unit. Thank you very much for your help," I nodded in response. As a courtesy, we briefly interacted and then merged together, heading for the refugee camp. I dragged the corpse of Boar King 1. Zheng Da carried Boar King 2. The soldiers also gathered in groups, carrying spoils and returning loaded. When the rescue convoy appeared at the camp, over 3,000 refugees wept with joy. The country had not abandoned them. All the grievances, fear and grief were released at that moment. The hundreds of mutated Jurassic beasts brought back became the most abundant supplies for everyone. In the following week, with the convoys joining an escort, the speed of refugee migration increased greatly. The company took over security work, while I, Xiong Da, and Xiaofeng the Awakened Ones cleared out the reckless beasts on the periphery. After a few days of interaction, Xiaofeng had fully figured out my temperament. Aloof and solitary, and unwilling to eat anything but delicacies. Though I looked fierce, when the camp's brats came to touch my scales, I never got mad. As I swallowed the last piece of grilled, dripping fat, a quick burst of fire, I let out a deep belch. Looking at the packed-up grill, my eyes gradually turned resolute. It was time to leave.